Hello guys, welcome back. This week we're covering simple past questions. So last week we saw simple past, affirmative and negative. Let's do a quick recap. We talked about the past of be, which can be was or were depending on the subject, wasn't and weren't in the negative, and we talked about there was and there were. There was for the singular things and there were for the plural, remember? We also talked about all the other verbs that use did as an auxiliary for the negative, yes? And for the affirmative, well, they can be regular with ed or they can be irregular and just change, okay? Finally, we talked about past time expressions, which can be last week, last night, last month, yesterday, 2 days ago, 5 years ago, in 1990, etc. So I want to talk a little bit about the use of be. Verb to be, in this case in past, that you know can be was or were, we use it for the classification of the subject. So here we say Michael Jackson was a singer, so we're classifying the occupation, okay? We can also use it for descriptions. So Nelson Mandela was brave, he was kind. We can also use it for physical descriptions. So maybe Nelson Mandela was tall, or maybe he was short, not sure. We use it for the location of the subject. John Lennon was in New York when he was killed. We use it to talk about the place of origin. So Selena Quintanilla was from Texas. So we say was from. We're talking about the place of origin. We use it with born. So Steve Jobs was born in 1955. We use it also with the age. He was 56 years old in 2011. So always for the age, yes. And with there, as you know, there was, there were. In this case, there were many students. It's plural, so we need were. There were many students in the last video conference. Okay, so these are some uses of verb to be that maybe you need to remember. And now let's go over the topic. Last week we were talking about inventions, and here we have the Wright brothers. These two guys invented the airplane in 1903. And I'm going to use some examples about them to explain the topic. We have yes/no questions, okay? Questions that you only answer with yes or no. And we have the formula here. Was or were plus the subject and the question mark. So was the first flight long? No, it wasn't. Was the first flight successful? Yes, it was. Were the Wright brothers inventors? Yes, they were. So here we're talking about the first flight. That's it. So we need it was. Why do we use were here? Because we're talking about the Wright brothers. They. Okay, they were. And the short answer, very simple. Yes, subject was or were. No, subject wasn't or weren't. Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. Yes, they were. So these are yes/no questions. We also have WH questions. So we need a WH word, for example, what, where, when, which, who, etc. And then was or were, depending, the subject, and the question mark. So, how long was the first flight? We don't answer with yes or no, we need a longer answer. How long was the first flight? The first flight was 12 seconds. Imagine that. Where was the first flight? The first flight was in the United States. Okay, so these are other types of questions you can do. And finally, we can do questions. You remember there was, there were? Well, we invert and we say was there or were there? Were there a lot of people at the 100-year celebration? Yes, there were. Was there a lot of rain that day? Yes, there was. Okay, so short answer, yes, there was, were. No, there wasn't, no, there weren't. Okay, so this is for was and were. As you can see, we don't need auxiliary did. We only use was and were as the auxiliary. Okay, you see here? So we were talking about airplanes. Let's talk about this famous pilot. His name is Chesley Sullenberg, or more known as Sully. He is a very famous pilot because in 2009 he was flying an airplane on New York and suddenly he had to land an emergency landing and he landed on a river, and that's how he protected the lives of many people in that plane and they survived thanks to Sully. There's actually a movie, you can watch it on Netflix, and it's called Sully with Tom Hanks. And it's just a story of how things went and how he saved a lot of lives. So it's very interesting if you want to watch it. Um, Now let's see questions with other verbs. Remember that for the other verbs we need an auxiliary did. So did, we use it for negatives and in this case questions. We have yes no questions and the formula is did subject and the verb in the base form. This is not in past. And a complement. Okay, and the short answer, yes, subject did, no, subject didn't. So example, did the pilot land at the airport? No, he didn't. You see how this verb it's not landed, it's land because we have the past here. Did the plane lose an engine? Yes, it did. We also have WH questions. So we need a WH word, we need did, the subject, the verb in base form, and the complement. Where did the pilot land? On the Hudson River. How did the plane lose an engine? Because birds flew into the engine, okay? So now that you know the structure, we're going to do a practice exercise. We have an example in the affirmative, and we're going to make it negative, and we're going to make it a question. So the affirmative, I bought a new laptop 2 weeks ago. How do you make it negative? I didn't buy, not didn't bought, didn't buy a new laptop 2 weeks ago. How do you make it a yes no question? Did you buy a new laptop 2 weeks ago? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. How do we make it a WH question? Well, there are many options, but here let's say, where did you buy your new laptop? I bought it on Amazon. Okay, let's do another one. So now we have the negative. I wasn't in Italy last year. So now we're using was, the past of the verb to be. How do you make it affirmative? I was in Italy last year. So I was, negative, I wasn't. How do you make it a question? Were you in Italy last year? I mean, you could say, was I in Italy last year? But it's you making a question to yourself. So more commonly, you will ask someone else, were you in Italy last year? Yes, I was. No, I wasn't. And now a WH question. Why were you in Italy? Because I have family there. So the last example, this is for you to practice, remember. She ate pizza last night. So the negative, she, this is not verb to be, this is a different verb, so we need auxiliary, did, in negative, didn't. She didn't eat pizza last night. How do you make it a question? Did she eat pizza last night? You see how the verb is in the base form? We don't say she didn't eat or did she ate, because we already have the auxiliary in past. So did she eat pizza last night? Yes, she did. No, she didn't. WH question. How much pizza did she eat? Remember we were talking in the previous weeks about how much and how many? Well, how much pizza did she eat? She ate 5 slices. Why do we have the verb in past here? Because it's not negative and it's not a question. Okay? So only negatives and questions use did. In affirmative, we use the verb in past. Okay? I hope this helped you. So I will see you in the video conference on Wednesday at the same time as always. Make sure to prepare questions or to write down any doubts you have so you can ask me during the video conference. See you.